This is the third part of the video where I will tell you how to get what you want. But you have to follow through the whole video right to the end. Okay? You know, there are people that keep asking me, what's the difference between the mind and the soul? I would say that it's a kind of definition that I'm using, right? But mind is something, generally, what you think. So it involves the thinking mind. It's an intellectual point of view. But the soul is an awareness of your presence. So that's what I would call the soul. It doesn't involve the mind, but it involves awareness of your presence. I'm on a ship, okay? So it's not easy to get a very clear view or very clear voice of mine. I'm on the ship that is moving across the South Pacific. The question in your mind must be, can I be aware of my presence without the mind? Now, every guru will tell you that you can't be aware of your presence without your mind. Then my question to you is that, why is it that the universe brought us into this world with a mind? If truly the soul is all that is needed, if your presence is all that you need, then why is it that the universe brought this problem to us, giving us a mind that actually somewhat confuses the infinity of our soul? Have you ever thought of that? I just want to raise a little hub here. You look at a reflection of yourself in the mirror, right? So the reflection of yourself in the mirror, you identify as yourself, but of course it's not yourself, you know that, because it's only a mirror of your own face. But the point is that you still have a face, don't you? I mean, although the mirror reflects you, that's right, but it reflects what? It reflects a face, right? A face which you never saw about yourself, but it has got a reflection of a face. What is the face? That's your presence, no doubt. But the fact I'm trying to stress is that there is a face, there is a soul, and your presence you want to find out. Can you understand the soul without the mirror? In all of your life, are you ever aware of your soul without the mirror? I'm asking you, can you do that? That's the question I'm raising to you. So I know you have a tendency to believe that the soul can be understood without the mind. But I'm trying to tell you that not exactly. I brought out a very important question earlier, didn't I? I said, if the presence can be understood without a mirror, why would the universe give us a mirror called the mind in order to understand our presence? So in other words, the universe did conspire with us to give us a mind so that we could understand our presence. But yet, I brought out a very important point. Again, I said that the mirror which the universe presents to us distorts the face, our own face. So how could we ever, that's what I'm trying to say, how could we ever touch presence? You know, the universe gave us a mind, a mirror, so that we can see ourselves, so that we know at least that there's some kind of an observer or a person in front of the mirror. That's important. But yet, the mirror that the universe gave to us is a distortion. It doesn't really present a picture of us in a true way. It's only a distortion, the mirror. So what's happening here? We are given a mirror, but then the mirror distorts our face. So how can we ever touch presence? But the guru said that you can discover presence by throwing away the mirror. Isn't that what the guru said? The guru said you just throw away your mind. Don't think anything. Just meditate and zero yourself in the mind. Don't think at all. Don't have a mind. And discover presence. But then the question I raised earlier was, why would a universe present us with a mind? And you can never transact in this world without a mind. Then There's no such thing as a human being without a mind. So the universe gave us a mind to confuse us? Gosh. See, my good friend, I've been struggling with that all these years, is that right? So one day, the angel gave me an answer to this very important question. In a vision, I saw how it was done. The angel said that you must observe your own thought. That's the only way. Why my own thought is the question I was asking. Because your own thought is closest to yourself. It is your own thought. And when the angel gave me the instruction, he said this. He said, you don't observe the thought. You observe the observation of the thought. That's a very difficult thing to do. But I'm telling you, I'm challenging you. You have to do that. You have to observe the observation of your thought. Why? Because you've got to reach deep within yourself. Not as an observer, not as a thought, but in between. And that is the reason why in my meditation process, which the angel spoke to me about, it is to observe my thoughts. See, notice very interestingly, I'm also observing some kind of a mirror, right? Yes, but true. But the mirror which I'm observing is my own thought. I'm observing the thought, not seeing the thought. So when I observe the thought with my own observer, what is happening? There is a resonance. There's this awesome unity from which in between there is a nothingness called a hollow. From which this hollow, I am is brought forth. So what I'm trying to emphasize is that you need the observer, you also need the observed in order to bring out yourself. So some people kept asking me and said, why is God named I am? Why do you need an I am in the Bible? You see, the point is that God's name is not exactly I am. God's name is I am that I am. Now why? The reason is simple, because it requires a yin and a yang. You have the face here, but you also need the I am out there, which is the mirror. Together, that's my name forever, God's name. So I'm trying to emphasize the fact that there is duality involved. Now, while there is one eternal in the universe. The universe is just simply just one. That's what I want to emphasize. But it presents itself, it expresses itself as a yin and a yang. And until we face the yin and yang squarely, we are unable to reach that one eternal. That's the point I'm trying to stress. So the balance of yin and yang is so important. Now, a lot of people, they emphasize on the mind, which is the yang. So it's as though they get lost. And then there are people who emphasize, like the gurus, they emphasize on the yin, and they forget about the mind. I don't want to comment about that, because they are gurus, you know. So, but the point I'm trying to say, you need that balance of yin and yang to discover the unity of both through a resonance. Okay, let's say you want to be just simply the soul, and you don't want the mind. Actually, what you're trying to do is simply to breathe in, but don't breathe out. Or to breathe out, but don't breathe in. You cannot do that. If without a yin and yang, you don't exist. You cannot express yourself. That's the point I'm trying to say. It's my thinking, okay? You see, the reason why people try to throw away the mind and just concentrate on the yin, concentrate on the soul, is because they couldn't handle the mind. Yes, the mind jiggles every day, chuckles to them every day, so they couldn't handle it. So what they did was throw away the mind. That's what most religious people do. The Buddhists, they do that. And then the Christians, what they did was they increased the level of the mind. They have a God out there in which they believe God loves me. So they increase the level of the mind. It's because they couldn't handle themselves, the soul. They're afraid to know who they are. Yes, when they're in silence, they're so scared. So they need to create in the mind somebody else to accompany them. That's the problem. No. So in my case, I try to observe my thoughts. Why? I go to the very, very bottom line of everything. My own thoughts, which I create, I observe the observation. That's right. So I create both the mind and the soul at the same time. to become aware of this duality so that I could express the one eternal in me. The mind must be there, the mirror must be there, but you also must have the soul, your presence awareness. So together we realize me out there is looking at the mirror and the mirror that is looking at me. This last part is the most important part. I need you to listen very carefully. How to get what you want. That's the point I'm trying to emphasize here. You see, some people, because they emphasize a lot about their own mind, they could never get what they want. Because you know why? The mind and the soul is in different directions. They just simply think about the mind, they don't want to think about their soul, so how would they ever get what they want? Okay, but there's another group of people called the gurus who keep on thinking of the soul and forget about the mind. So what they do is they live in a monastery and they never get what they want because in the silence, what are they going to do in their life? Sit down here and doing nothing? Of course not. So you see, my good friend, you must have the mind and the soul connected. And in this connected, in this resonance, then only and only then will you reach the promised land. Remember in the story of the Bible, the Israelites, before they took over Jericho, what did God told them? What's the secret? God said that you need to create a very loud sound, right? So that the walls of Jericho will fall with the loud sound. What's happening? God is asking them to resonate with the wall, so that the wall and themselves become one. So that promised land is theirs. The mind is the wall. So when you observe the mind or your thoughts, you resonate with the mind with the same frequency as the observer. Wow! You get what you want. Why is that so? Why do you get what you want? Because the mind, the goal of the mind now gets in alignment with the soul's direction and will. So in other words, the mind, the world in which you lived in, will find itself corrected simply because the will, which is of soul, is now connected to the mind. You got it? Yeah. So the whole process is rather very, very difficult to achieve. Of course, I know that. But that's my point. To present a video to you that will help you to achieve your goal in life. I came to the ship with my wife. I'm celebrating my holidays with her. The balance of yin and yang is very important. That's right. You can't live a life as a celibate. A man is born into this world to give birth to himself, to reproduce. I am that I am.